So the big question, the one that started it all, is simple but just haunting. What happened to Flight NC16002? On December 27th, 1948, it just took off and then it was gone. It vanished from the face of the earth. To even begin to understand their 9-year ordeal, we have to go back to the very beginning, to that exact moment when they fell from the sky. The speed of it all is what's truly chilling. Just think about it. At 8:13 p.m., it's a totally routine flight. You've got 134 people on board. The captain, Robert Miller, he radios in, calm as can be, reporting a minor issue. Then, 10 seconds later, nothing. It's just gone, wiped from their radar screens, swallowed whole by the mystery of the Bermuda Triangle. They flew right into a phantom storm, a storm that just appeared out of nowhere, killing all their instruments. As the plane was falling, it crashed, but not into the sea. It crashed into a gigantic ancient tree on an island that wasn't on any map. And those dense branches, they acted like a massive net, miraculously saving every single person on board. Surviving the crash itself, that was a miracle. But that miracle was really just the beginning of their nightmare, because now they had to survive the island. You know, those first few days were just brutal. Thirst was the first enemy. Food was a dangerous guessing game. They had to find shelter and fast. And with 10 people seriously injured, they were in desperate need of any kind of medical care. But the biggest thing, the one thing they needed above all else, was fire. Without it, the first night could have easily been their last. That's how many people it took to learn the island's most terrifying lesson. In a desperate hunt for anything to eat, one man ate a fruit he didn't recognize. He died in agony just a few hours later. It was their first loss, a very grim welcome from their new home. Their first real win against the wilderness, it came from the most unlikely place, a teenage boy. He remembered a science class, and he used his glasses to make a magnifying lens. For hours, he just sat there, patiently focusing a tiny beam of sunlight onto a pile of dry leaves. And then, a little wisp of smoke, and finally, a flame. That wasn't just fire. It was warmth. It was safety. It was a symbol that they weren't giving up. But that defiance, it was fragile. After 10 days and absolutely no sign of rescue, the hope of 5 passengers just broke. In the middle of the night, they launched a small raft they'd built from wreckage and just pushed off into that vast, empty ocean. They were never seen or heard from again. Those early losses, they forced everyone who was left to face a new reality. This island, this was their world now, and they had to build a whole new society right there from scratch. And while they were figuring out how to hunt and build shelters, the world they left behind, well, it was giving up on them. One of the biggest search operations in history, it cost $45 million, and it found nothing, absolutely nothing. So eventually, they just called it off. All 134 souls on Flight NC16002 were officially declared lost at sea. But a different kind of one this time. After a year and a half on the island, in the middle of all that struggle and loss, a new life began. A baby boy was born, the first native of their new society. You have to imagine, his cry was this powerful reminder that even in the absolute deepest despair, life, it finds a way. But that new life, it was born into this constant, brutal cycle of hope and despair. It seemed like for every step forward they took, the island demanded a terrible price. After 2 years, they poured all of their remaining hope into one single monumental project, a big boat, painstakingly built from the bones of the airplane. It was a masterpiece of survival engineering. 25 of their strongest, their most experienced, they all boarded, and they promised they would cross the ocean and come back with help for everyone. But the ocean, it had other plans. A sudden, vicious storm just descended on them. The boat fought, but the waves, they were just relentless. The boat was torn to pieces, and of the 25 who set out with so much hope, 16 were lost to the sea. The handful that washed back ashore, they brought nothing but news of total failure and death. 98, that's how many of them were left. After the first death from the fruit, the 5 who took the raft, others lost to sickness and despair, and now 16 more taken by the storm. The weight of all that loss, it was becoming just unbearable. The loss of that boat didn't just break their spirit, it shattered their society. 2 camps formed, Captain Miller, he still led a group who believed that escape was the only option, the only thing that mattered. But another group started to argue that every time they tried to escape, it just led to more death. They started to believe the island was their fate, and they should just accept it. And then, in their 8th year, it was as if the island itself made the decision for them. A massive cyclone just ripped across their home. It leveled their shelters, destroyed their crops. It wiped out 8 years of hard work in a matter of hours. At that point, any hope they had left was almost completely gone. But it's often at that lowest point, when all hope seems lost, that the truly impossible can happen. And after that storm, a series of miracles occurred that no one, absolutely no one, could have ever predicted. It's incredible. 3 completely random, powerful events had to line up perfectly. First, a violent earthquake shook the island, and it shifted the plane's wreckage, jarring old wires loose. At that exact same moment, a massive solar flare erupted from the sun, flooding the Earth's atmosphere with electromagnetic energy. And that bizarre combination of geology and astronomy, it did the impossible. It momentarily powered up the broken radio. One of the survivors, an engineer named Arthur Vance, he saw a flicker of life in the radio and just grabbed the microphone. And in Miami, an air traffic controller heard a voice from a ghost plane, a flight that had been a closed case for almost a decade. When Vance said the flight number, NC16002, the entire control room just fell silent. The world's largest search was launched all over again. And then one morning, a survivor saw a tiny speck on the horizon. It got bigger and bigger until it took the shape of a U.S. Navy ship. After 9 long years of total isolation, their ordeal, it was finally over. 82. That's how many made it home. 82 people who had been declared dead for 9 years, stepping back into a world that had mourned them, forgotten them, and just moved on. Their story became a legend, didn't it? A real testament to human endurance. But it leaves you with a really profound question. What is the true cost of survival? Their story shows that even when you're lost in the echo of a forgotten world, even the smallest ray of hope can pierce the densest darkness. But what do you do when you finally step back into the light?